Good afternoon and welcome to RCI's Navshikhar channel. I welcome all our viewers to our show today. Our today's topic of discussion is the role of various professionals like teachers, psychologists, social workers, etc. in mental retardation. And we have with us our expert today. She's a lecturer from NIMH, New Delhi, Dr. Usha Grover. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, I'll first give a briefing of about mental retardation. This is a case which has come about age today, and there are many people who have a lot of knowledge about it today. So there are various professionals who have come into this area, and these professionals play a key role in development of mental retardation. So I would just like to ask ma'am first. Ma'am, there are various services which are demanded by these mental retard patients. So could you just give a briefing about these services that are provided?
Yeah, thank you first of all. You asked me a question that people with mental retardation require various services.
Yeah.
So why do you think they require so many services? Well, you asked me a very relevant question. Well, if you have, our students would have seen children with mental retardation. Children with mental retardation not only have mental retardation, along with that they have many other problems. Say for example, sometimes most of them, by and large, they have speech and language problem. Some of them have physical problems, some of them they have problems with hearing, or sometimes other problems also, emotional problems, psychological problems, behavioral problems and medical problems. So when we are talking about the habilitation of persons with a mental retardation, obviously we can't say that special educator is enough because she is going to teach the child. What about the other needs of the child? As I just said, they have other needs as well apart from their need of educational studies, So because of their other needs, as I just said, they have behavioral problems, they have medical problems. Say for example, by and large again we have seen children with mental retardation, they have epilepsy, epileptic fits. So we need to have doctor services. So children with mental retardation often have behavioral problems, so we need the services of a psychologist. So likewise, we also need the services of therapists. Say for example, if a person have physical problems, if a person has mobility problems, hand function problems, so we require the services of physical therapist or occupational therapist. So that's what you wanted to ask me. So keeping in view the associated condition of these persons with mental retardation, which they have along with mental retardation, the services of various professionals are required. Now let us have a look at the chart. What are the various services our persons with mental retardation require? As you can see on the screen, there are many services persons with mental retardation require. First of all, they require early detection and intervention services. You can see on the screen, as you can see on the screen, there are services like early detection and intervention services. As the name suggests, how to intervene early. First of all, to detect a child with mental retardation, which only doctors, pediatricians can do it, and if at all they have detected, then how to provide intervention services. They require medical services if there is some medical problems. As I just said, any medical problem like you and I have, child is born and is having diarrhea problem or some fever or whatever medical problem that we need doctors. Psychological services, we need psychologists as the child grows, accepting the child by the parents that he has mental retardation is a tough thing. It's very tough. So therein the psychologists play a big role, how to make the parents accept that their child is having a problem. As you very well know, unless we accept the child's needs and unless we accept the child as he is, we are unable to provide him the services he requires. And next is that physical and occupational services. As I said, the child may have some problems, either he is not able to sit properly, or when he's small he's having problem with his head control, or when he's old he's having problem with his hand function, or he's a problem with his gait, his mobility and other things. So for that we need the services of therapist, either he's a PT, physiotherapist, or occupational therapist. We talk about it later when we're talking about the role of various professionals. Then we have speech and language hearing services. As I just said, most of our children with mental retardation have speech and language problem. So we do require services of an audiologist and speech therapist. That's what I was going to tell you, that they require services of various professionals. Then special education services. Education, what kind of education, what skills the child requires to live his life independently. So that's the role of a special educator, teaching the child with mental retardation all those skills which he requires in day-to-day life. Say for example, how to eat, how to read, how to write, things like that, which will be required to study and also to live his day-to-day life. The next, vocational services. As the child grows older, he finishes schools, obviously like you and I, we learn work, and then we are put in the world of work. You and I started working, but before they are put in the world of work, they need to be trained in some vocations. So what we call, vocational services. So they do require vocational services as well. Which vocation they should go in, what kind of vocation would be suited best for his ability. All those things, vocational services are required. Then services provided by the government. As we just said, it's a nation problem. Dealing with the children or looking after the person with mental retardation is our problem. It's a nation's problem. Now there are certain benefits and schemes available from the government of India. So what are those schemes? What are the services provided by the government that also required for persons with mental retardation, so that they are aware what are the services available from the government of India. Then information services. Now what is available? What is available for people with mental retardation? Sometimes parents are not even aware that there are special schools available. They are not even aware there are some benefits available. They are not even aware what is this condition all about and what is their role. And if they don't know what is their role towards this child, then how would community would know what is their role? So the awareness services, how can we do awareness services through media, like what we are doing now? What is this condition? How we should treat with this condition? Treating in the sense handle, treat in the sense what kind of language we should use? How do we, address these children? And what are the various needs and what kind of sensitivity we should have, what kind of positive attitude we should have towards these children. All these things should be given by media. And then what is available? Where is the school? And where are the national agencies? Where are the non-government agencies? And what is available where? All those information about all these things is very, very important. As I said, many of the people, not only parents, even the professionals, are not aware what all is available for persons with mental retardation. So that is why information service is also required. Community-based services, again, eventually we all know when the child is born in the community, and after we have taught him, after we have provided services according to the needs of the person, he is eventually going to be set in the community. He is eventually going to live in the community. So what are the various community services he would be requiring? That also is another service. Social work services, again, social work, like working with the families. We need people who can bridge the gap between the family and the services. Social workers who can give education to the community, tell them what is their role, again bringing a link between the community and people with mental retardation. And again, benefits are there, but how to help these people to avail those benefits, that's another. What are the various forms you have to fill in, where do you have to go and collect the form, all those nitty-gritty of all these things. So social workers are required to give that. Then recreational services. Again, like any other person, persons with mental retardation also require services for their recreation, for their leisure time, because they are also human beings like you and I. So now, what are those services available? Can they use the same swimming pool? Can they use the same malls or PVRs, or and if at all they can use, are they disabled friendly? So can they use all those? So these are other services they require, and if they want to use, how they can do it. So these are the various services persons with mental retardation would require if you're talking about the habilitation and rehabilitation process for these children. Yeah.
Ma'am, as you just talked about the families of these people, of these patients with mental retardation, ma'am, these families were found it's very difficult for them to cope up with these patients and with the societal pressures. So what exactly, and they have a very a lot of trust and faith in their doctors and their counselors. So how would you recommend the strategies for these families to cope up with the societal pressures and everything?
Well, good question again. Now there is a procedure. First of all, as I just said, when the child is born, the parents go through various stages of acceptance. It's not that the child is born and the parents have accepted. There's a continuum of stages. First is shock, shock, denial, no. And then, again, search starts when they're a little bit okay, and then so many other things. And final stage is, acceptance. So what I'm saying is a continuum, it's a scale. Like they start with shocking, grieving, and all those things, denial, and like why it is me, all those things, hurt, pain, and everything. And finally they go to acceptance. And some of them are stuck in between. They never go to this end of acceptance. But it's a role, as I said, this is how we have to work with the families. We work with the families, like as I said, social worker and psychologist and all the professionals. They work with the families to help the parents, to help the family accept this child. Because unless, as I just said, whatever we do with the child, if the person has not been able to accept the child with his needs, whatever program they give is not going to be of any benefit, because they say it's not beneficial. Yeah. Why should we unnecessarily spend time for this child? So very good question you have asked. And there are many coping mechanisms. There are a lot of research done on families and siblings, and if this is we have time, maybe we'll discuss about that later. But so, as I just said, all of us play a big role in talking with the in helping the families to accept the child with mental retardation. Yeah.
So ma'am, now that you've told us about the families, the strategies that the families should follow, ma'am, another question is that ma'am, the various professionals, can you just describe the various type of professionals, the various
that's what I'm going to talk about. So as you can see on the screen, we need to have the involvement of various professionals, and that's the need of the hour. You may think, generally people think that mental retardation, if the child is born with, if it is detected as early as that, they will go to a doctor, like doctor will take care of him. Fine, doctor will take care of the medical services, fine. But the point I'm stressing is that they not only require the services of a medical doctor, but they do require other services also, other professional services. So what are those? As you can see on the screen, it is a multidisciplinary team. As you can see, we require a social worker, we require a speech therapist, we require a teacher, teacher meaning special educator, or if they are in an inclusive setup, we require regular school teacher, then psychologists, then parents, doctors, there are other vocational instructors and so on, whose services are required on and off, But these are the professionals who are always team members when we are talking about habilitation of persons with mental retardation. Okay, so now shall we go, as you just said, shall we discuss the role of each and every professional? Role of a psychologist. I think our DSC students are exposed to psychologists in their institutions. They would have seen psychologists, taking cases and assessing their IQ, and that is their main role. Psychologists are, the main purpose is to assess the child IQ so that we can find out whether the child is mentally retarded or not, because that is one of the criteria of finding out whether the child is retarded or not. And so they use various IQ tests, whether it is Binet or it is progressive matrices or it is form board, depending upon the child age and so many other things. A psychologist will decide which test she will have to use, and she will give IQ score of a child, which will help others, because as I said, they are all connected, which will help school authorities to place the child in the school, like whether he'll be placed in preschool level, or he'll be placed at primary level, or he'll be placed at secondary level, depending upon his IQ and his age, mental level and his chronological level. It helps us in placement, like where should he be placed in special school. So that is the main role of a psychologist. Yeah. And if you can see on the screen, to determine, I have written, to determine students' cognitive, academic, social, emotional and behavioral functioning. So that is the main role of a psychologist. Second, detailed analysis of students' strengths and weaknesses. Third is plan strategies for academic and social behavioral problems as behavioral consultant. Then last of all, individual assistant to behavioral problems. So what we are saying, apart from his IQ assessment, psychologist is also involved in behavioral problems management. Like there are many behavioral problems which are found in persons with mental retardation. Say for example, they sometimes the kind of self-injurious behavior they show, beating themselves or pushing others, so misbehavior, or they are doing some odd behaviors, or sometimes they are very rebellious, and sometimes they are into wrong behaviors. So all kind of behaviors we have seen our children are sometimes engaged in. So the role of a psychologist is to assess the problem behavior as well. They not only assess the IQ level, but also to assess the problem behavior, and not only assess the behavior problem, but also after assessing the behavioral problem, give a management plan, like how to overcome this behavioral problem, either eliminate it or reduce it. Right? Say for example, if the problem is happening 5 times a day, so that either she will like to totally eliminate it or reduce the
frequency.
The frequency of happening it. Okay, so that is the role of a psychologist. And individual assistant, basically they are doing one-to-one problems. And now when they are working with the parents, obviously they work with the parents as well. Parents counseling, students counseling, that is also a role of a psychologist. Yeah, we'll go to...
As you just spoke about psychologists and counseling, the parents, they generally tend not to accept the children have got disability. So when do you think is the ideal time for them to go to counseling? When do you think they should go for counseling?
Okay, very good question. Again, for accepting the child, we have counseling.
Yeah.
We have counseling sessions arranged for the parents. Like sometimes we feel our training is of no use. Whatever we are doing with the child is not being carried home because parents are not
willing to accept it.
They are not agreeing with us, and they don't have a strong belief that whatever we are doing will help the child. On the contrary, they feel whatever we are doing is of no use. So that means they have not accepted the child's strengths and weaknesses. So here comes the role of a psychologist to make him aware positively. It's not just the limitations, they're also the strengths of a child. So it is up to the psychologist to use her counseling skills to make them aware well. Some children run very fast, some children run very slow, but the child who's running slow is very good in computers. The child who runs very fast is not good in computer. So we all vary in our strengths and weaknesses. So this child is not able to do the academics that fast or that efficiently as compared to other children, but he has this strength. As this strength of doing working on computers, or this strength of working art and craft, or singing or working on an instrument. So this is how, what kind of strategy, what kind of counseling techniques they will use is up to the psychologist. But as you said, the very good question, that unless, as I said, the first priority, the first task of a psychologist and all of us is towards accepting the child. As I said, otherwise whatever program you are doing with the child is of no value, because unless I have belief, unless I accept, I'm just doing it. And then whatever we are doing is not carried over at home because they are not at that level. So it's going waste. Yeah. So that is the role of a psychologist. It's their role to help the parents to accept. But as you said, it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
It's not really an easy job. We have to give many sessions, and there are still very many parents who are still fixated. As I said, they never come to that stage, but gradually, sometimes mother accepts, but father doesn't accept. Then we have to bring in father, but sometimes father is not even willing to come. So there are a lot of facets. Then the psychologist has to adopt another techniques. So it's not easy, but there are solutions. Yeah.
Okay.
Have I answered your question?
Yes, ma'am, completely.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, then we come to role of a special educator. Now, after the psychologist has given us the IQ level of a child, as I said, we will place the child. Now, there are various levels in the school, keeping in view the child's chronological age and his mental age. The levels are pre-primary, primary, like we say pre-primary, primary, secondary, pre-vocational and vocational. And there are other classes, primary A and pre-vocational B and primary B also. So now, keeping in view the IQ of a child and his chronological age, the child is placed in various classes. Now in the classes are manned by a special educator. So in other words, a special educator will have special students with mental retardation for whole day. That means she is looking after these children. There are almost 7 to 10 children in one class, and special educator's responsibility is to coordinate the services of various professionals, but she is the coordinator who will coordinate all the services whatever are required by a child and give those services. So as you can see on the screen, the role of a special educator is coordination of the services a student is required to receive. So depending upon what are the various services the student requires, she has to coordinate those. If he is required to go to speech therapy at particular time, it is her duty to send him and take the program so that she can also coordinate that program in the class as well. So that is one. Second is assessment of the functional level. Now, what is the functional level academically? What is the psychoeducational level? That is the duty of a special educator. Psychologist has given us just IQ, which will not help us to develop his individualized educational program. In other words, his training program. In other words, what he should be taught and when he should be taught and how he should be taught. Now, this is the responsibility of a special educator, first of all, to find out what is his level. In other words, what is his functional level academically? How much he can do in reading, how much can he do in writing, how much can he do in his daily living, like his level in dressing or eating or making beds or making chapatis or all those things. So this special educator will do. IQ assessment was done by a psychologist, but special educator will find out his functional level to get a behavioral profile of a child as to what are the various skills my child with special mental retardation can do, and what are the various skills my child is unable to do, so that on the basis of whatever the child he can't do, she will pick the goals for the child. As I've written on the screen, after the assessment of the functional level, the next is developing and implementing IEPs. Our students of DSC would fairly know what I'm talking about, because we have already had a discussion about assessment and IEP. They all know what are the various tools we use for assessment of functional level. They all know how do we go about preparing IEP, or they are in the process of developing IEP these days. I'm sure, and I think most of them are in the process of, they have finished assessment and now right now they are developing IEP. They have written goals and objectives and now they are in the process of writing IEP.
Ma'am, if I would just, what is the procedure of assessment of an IEP? If you could just elaborate on that.
Well, as I just said, it's a different topic altogether, which
Okay.
will take me, if I elaborate, it will
Just
take me
to
another
briefly,
1 hour. As I just said, in all mentally handicapped children are different. You know, even when two of us are sitting, if it was a normal class, my teacher will use a common book for both of us.
Okay.
But for mentally handicapped children, even when they have 60 IQ, 60 to 65 IQ, both the children are falling in that range, even then their functional level will vary. Maybe this child will be good in reading, or maybe 2-letter word reading or 3-letter word living, but this child is reading sentences, whereas writing, I can't even write a single word, single letter, whereas you even can write 2-letter word. So the functional level is different. Your fine motor skills are very good, but my fine motor skills are not good. On the contrary, my verbal skills are very good. So what I'm trying to tell you is that even when there are two mentally handicapped, they are in the same class, their level is different. So in order to deal with the child, we have to, in order to take care of the needs of each child, we have to develop individualized education program. So individualized is the underlying word. And that is what, and it's a whole procedure, how to write IEP, how to prepare IEP, how to implement IEP, for which is a separate topic altogether, which is the heart of the special education. If a special educator, that's the main job of a special educator, assessing and developing IEP and implementing it and then evaluating it. So you've already asked me this question. You can see on the screen, role of special educators. I'll repeat again. Coordination of various services. As I said, the child will require many services. A special educator will jot down those services, what a student would require, and coordinate those services with other professionals. Second is assessment of the functional level. As I just said, it is her responsibility to develop a functional profile, behavioral profile. Then second is developing his individualized educational program. After developing that, give direct instruction, which is implementation of IEP, teaching IEP, and then after a stipulated time, evaluate what the child has achieved, and then accordingly refer to the next class or wherever. So this is the role of a special educator.
Now, what about the other professionals that are involved?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Let's talk about the next professional. But before I go on to that, as I said, special educator play a pivotal role. She is, although she is just one professional, but she has to coordinate. That is her main job, to provide with other professionals. To coordinate with other professionals. So what we have found while working with people with mental retardation, we have found a special educator has to be a very, very responsible person. And what we found, there are certain qualities which we feel should be there in a special educator, and I would like to list those. And in order to make it easy and interesting, we have analyzed the word special, so that our students can remember, so that they can remember what all qualities I should have as a special educator. As I said, she is a person who is keeping the child for the maximum hours of the school. Most of the time the child stays with the special educator. The child goes to specialist only for a brief period when they are going for other therapies. So what are those qualities? As you can see on the screen, I have analyzed special. So S means sincere. Special educator has to be sincere. Yeah. And sincere meaning, we all know, sincerity. She has to work with sincerity. P means pleasing personality. Why I say that? Pleasing personality meaning she should be smiling, she should be approachable, not that the way the teachers are frowning and why you have done this, why you have not done that. Then E means empathy. and to break in. So she should be empathetic.
Empathetic.
Yeah, not sympathetic.
Empathetic.
Empathetic. What is the difference?
Sympathetic is when you're sympathizing, having pity for someone.
Exactly.
But empathetic is when you're understanding the problem and then...
Exactly. Don't sympathize. Oh, just because he's this, I have to teach. No, this is right. Understand, this is how we understand. Put yourself in his shoe. This is how we understand and this is how I have to teach. That is empathy. Okay? And the next is, you have to be creative. Okay? What is creative meaning? Now, as I said, and all our students know the characteristics of persons with mental retardation. And one of the characteristics is they are very lethargic, they are not interested in studies, they will forget soon, they will lose their concentration. So what we have to do is that, teach the same thing over and over and over again. In other words, they require repetition all the time. Now, if we keep repeating the same thing again and again in the same manner, what will happen? Our students will get bored and nobody will learn. Yeah, as it is, they're not willing to learn, and if you don't make your teaching interesting, they will not learn. So what we say, a teacher has to be very, very creative. Same idea should be taught in 10 different ways, and that is the requirement of a good special educator.
Okay. So ma'am, till now we've spoken about the various services that are demanded by the mental retardation patients and the various professionals that are involved and the families and the coping strategies which the families have to use with their children who've got the problem of mental retardation. Then we spoke about the psychologists and the counselors and special educators, and we were just discussing about what are the qualities that a special educator should have. So we will continue with this, but now it's time for a short break, so we'll see you after that.
Yeah, you're doing very well.
This is Aparna. She loves chess and Shah Rukh Khan. Her best friend is Swati. She also has visual impairment. This is Neeraj. He plays many instruments. He loves Mohammad Rafi and cricket. He also uses crutches for mobility. This is Raj Bala. With her husband and daughter. She loves cooking and watching TV. She also has cerebral palsy. Look beyond the disability. Look at the person.
ऑटिज्म एक व्यापक विकासात्मक विकलांगता है जिसके लक्षण जीवन के प्रथम 3 वर्ष में ही दिखाई पड़ते हैं, जैसे असंगत खेल, असमान स्थूल एवं सूक्ष्म गामक क्रियाएं, शाब्दिक संकेतों पर अभिव्यक्ति न देना,
देखो ओपन योर आईज, ओपन करो, ओपन करके ओपन
नियमित कार्यक्रम परिवर्तन का विरोध करना एवं अवलोकनीय शारीरिक उच्च स्तरीय या निम्न स्तरीय क्रियाकलाप। UNCRPD 2007 सेक्शन 1 ऑफ आर्टिकल 4 निशक्तता के क्षेत्र में कार्यरत प्रोफेशनल के प्रशिक्षण पर महत्व देता है। ऑटिज्म के क्षेत्र में सरकारी एवं गैर सरकारी संस्थाएं कार्यरत हैं, जो भारतीय पुनर्वास परिषद द्वारा पंजीकृत हैं। सोसाइटी फॉर एडवांस स्टडी इन रिहैबिलिटेशन एक ऐसी ही गैर सरकारी संस्था है। कनिष्क 13 साल का एक ऑटिस्टिक बच्चा है, जो इसी संस्था से प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त कर रहा है। असंगत क्रियाएं, कार्यकलापों में निरस्ता, असमान स्थूल एवं सूक्ष्म गामक क्रियाएं जैसे बॉडी रॉकिंग और फिंगर रिगलिंग उसमें देखी जा सकती है। उसे मैचिंग और पेस्टिंग, पॉइंटिंग जैसी क्रियाएं सिखाई जाती हैं।
वेरी गुड। ग्लास, वेयर इज द ग्लास? ग्लास, वेरी। कप को टच करो जल्दी से, कप को। वेयर इज द कप? वेरी गुड। कप में क्या करता है कनिष्क? टी पीता है। चलो ग्लास, वेयर इज द ग्लास? वेरी गुड। चलो बाउल की तरह, बाउल बाउल जल्दी से टच करो बाउल को। वेरी गुड। बाउल में क्या करता है कनिष्क?
तथा साथ ही साथ रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताएं जैसे खाना, पीना, कपड़े पहनना, और व्यायाम संबंधी प्रशिक्षण दिया जाता है। ऑटिस्टिक बच्चों को भिन्न भिन्न प्रकार की कार्यविधियां उनके स्तर के अनुसार सिखाई जाती हैं। जैसे कुछ बच्चों के लिए कलरिंग विद इन वन एरिया, मैचिंग एंड आइडेंटिफिकेशन, फाइन मोटर स्किल्स, आई हैंड कोऑर्डिनेशन, कंसेप्ट ऑफ वेजिटेबल्स, फ्रूट्स, बॉडी पार्ट्स, कलर्स पर जोर दिया जाता है तथा कुछ को प्रश्न पढ़ के उत्तर देने में और रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करने में सक्षम बनाया जाता है। इसके अलावा राइम्स, डांसिंग, सिंगिंग द्वारा लेजर एंड रिक्रिएशनल एक्टिविटीज में भाग लेने के लिए प्रोत्साहित किया जाता है। इन सभी कार्यकलापों एवं प्रशिक्षण का एकमात्र उद्देश्य उन्हें स्वनिर्भर बनाना है, ताकि ये डगमगाते पांव सक्षम बन जीवन के एक एक पायदान पर दृढ़ता से आगे बढ़ें और अपनी मंजिल को पा लें। एक तारा टिमटिमाता, उसने आकाश को छू लिया। एक लौ जली कहीं, उसने अंधकार को मिटा दिया।
Welcome back after a break. Our discussion of today was on the role of professionals in the field of MR, that is mental retardation, and we had just spoken about the various services that are provided for the mental retardation patients and about the psychologists and the role of special educators. So we were just discussing about the special educators. Ma'am, what are the other qualities that are essential of the special educators? So
Yeah, as you can see on the screen, I've listed as I said, I've analyzed special and I've listed the qualities of a special educator, which we have found are very, very important. There are many others also, but these are the least required. I think everybody should have these qualities. As I said, special, you can see on the screen, S means sincere, P means pleasing personality, and E means empathy. She should be empathetic. Means creative, I means intelligent, A means attitude, attitude as in positive attitude, L means laborious. So, as I just said, a special educator should have pleasing personality. She is working with children who are already not very keen to learn. And if you are always frowning and screaming and shouting and not, pleasant with these children, I think they will not learn from you. That's the case with all the teachers and children, but more so with the children with special education because of their characteristics. So I think a teacher should always be smiling and should always be accessible, should always be ready to help the children. And as I said, intelligent I mean that टीचर को सारी नॉलेज होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि हर बंदा स्पेशल एजुकेटर नहीं बन सकता है. There are specialized ways of teaching children with mental retardation, which a teacher learns only after going through a course in special education. तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि so only unless they undergo that course, they do not imbibe those skills and competencies which are required for a special educator. So knowledge. So when I say that they should be intelligent, I mean to say they should have the knowledge of the field. And teaching mentally handicapped children is as scientific, as methodical as teaching other children. It's not that you can teach anything through these children, you can teach any way you feel like to these children. It's not like that. There are set ways of assessment, standardized ways of teaching, standardized ways of recording. So there are ways of doing things which a special educator should know before dealing. What we have seen in various schools, that anybody they say that teaching children with mental retardation is so easy, anybody can teach. So I'll go, I'm free, I would like to give my free services. Fine, they can give their free services, but unless they are aware of this procedure, this process of teaching mentally handicapped children, I think they can do negative also. They can do blunders also as to making mistakes in teaching, and which could really be harmful for our children. So that is what I was trying to say. Otherwise, I was saying attitude, positive attitude. As I said, no sympathy. Positive attitude meaning, yes, our children can learn. Our children will learn. Positive attitude. Some people think, पढ़ना पढ़ाना तो इन्होंने कुछ है नहीं, तो यही कर लो, इतना ही काफ़ी है, यही कर लो. So unless I have a positive attitude, I have a positive belief that yes, they can, they will not. So I should have the attitude, yes, they can, only then they will. That's the attitude they should have. And then laborious, because it requires a lot of hard work. Teaching children with mental retardation requires hard work. And you have to prepare their teaching learning material, you have to, sometimes they have behavioral problems, maybe you have to run after them. Sometimes, they are kind of dirty in the classroom, they do, they pass in the classroom, so you have to clean them, do all kind of things, take them out. So it is a lot of hard work, and we should be prepared to do that.
So that means to come into this field and to be a special educator, one has to be not only sincere but also have a good personality, a positive attitude, and the approach has to be right.
Exact. Positive attitude is a must.
Okay.
Unless you have positive attitude, whatever you are, there are principals, very knowledgeable, eminent personalities, but if you don't have positive attitude towards people with disability, I don't think you can do any work. You have to be first convinced that whatever we do will be of some help to these children, because studies have revealed that if whatever little we do with our children with disability, it helps in improvement. Studies have revealed. Any little work is done by people. They could be expert, they could be parents, they could be the guardians, but whatever work is done, it helps the children to improve with their functioning
and grow.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically it's just all about loving what you're doing and knowing what you're doing also, and enjoying the work that you're doing.
Yeah, love is fine. We all should be love and being loved. Along with that, be firm. Love is not just whatever you are doing, I love it. No, you love it. You love your children, but you have to be firm. What we call it. No, don't punish, but be firm.
Assertive.
Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, what about the role of doctors?
Okay, we'll come to that now. Now, again, as I said, we all work in teams, you know, there are various professionals which are required. Now, doctors have their own role in the rehabilitation process of persons with mental retardation. In fact, the first person where a child goes is the doctor. So, what are doctors supposed to do? First of all, help the parents identify whether the child is having a disability or not. As you can see on the screen, I'll read out what are the responsibilities of a doctor and then I'll explain. Role of a doctor: medical examination and assessment, and after doing that, prescribing medicine for the complaints given by the patients. It could be any complaint, it could be anything, you know, fever or stomachache or diarrhea or fever, and but it could be other complaints as well, which I'll come to you later. Medical counseling, you know, and then providing early intervention services along with other team members, very, very important. If the child is diagnosed at a very early stage that he has some disability, doctor plays a big role. Doctor plays a big role in the sense, first of all, he will help the parents to diagnose what is the disability, and second is referring him to the correct place for you know, getting those services. So this is the role of a doctor. Now, if I can say that in various places where sometimes we have seen parents coming to us and telling us that when they come at the age of 10, when the child is at, you know, 10 years old, and we say the child is Down syndrome, didn't you know about it? He said, no, जहाँ पे हम थे हमें किसी डॉक्टर ने बताया नहीं. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. People always go to, parents always go to a doctor whenever they feel something is different or something is deviating from other children. They go to a doctor. So it is the role of a doctor to give them the correct advice, to give them the correct direction. Like, I feel this is the problem with the child and this is what he requires. You need to go to this person for this services and this person for that. So making correct referrals, and sometimes doctor is also involved in doing genetic counseling, which is very, very important. If in a family they found that they are having disabled children in a row, so they, I mean, first was disabled and second was also disabled, then obviously the doctor will say they have to go in for genetic counseling, like if there's something in the family which the child is acquiring, so then genetic counseling is required. There are some tests done whether they can go on with the next pregnancy or not. So that is the main role of a doctor. Medical counseling, as I just said. Then providing early intervention, very, very important. Doctor's role is very, very important. Then, you know, also, as you said, I don't know whether you have heard about, there's a condition called cretinism, which is a thyroid deficiency, and it can be cured if it is detected early, you know. So it is up to a doctor. If they can detect this and it is treated, then the child will not be mentally retarded. But if it is not treated, then the child may become mentally retarded. So it is up to the doctors how to do that. So his role is very, very important. And as I just said, all of us, you and I also, whenever we have a complaint, whenever we have some problem, first thing we think is doctor. So it is the responsibility of a doctor to tell them that it is now I have diagnosed, now the role is more of a rehabilitation worker, rehabilitation professional. It could be a social worker, it could be a special educator, it could be a therapist. So it is his duty to direct them to the correct place.
So that means since the doctors have the first step, the first role.
Yeah, because pediatrician, as soon as the child is born, the child is seen by pediatrician.
And as soon as the parents detect that there's something that's not, you know, something that's different,
Not
they
right,
go to a doctor.
They go to a doctor.
And it's very important for the doctor to play the right intervention and the right
Exactly,
counselors.
Exactly. Because
Okay.
if the direction is not given proper, then obviously the parents would be misled. And that time which is so important, you know, is wasted somewhere else.
And you also mentioned a very important point that it may be genetic. So it's very
Exactly.
important to detect that as well,
Very
so that
important.
further pregnancies can
Exactly,
be avoided
exactly.
in that
Especially
case.
when we see is going on in the family, there is something in the family when a doctor finds, when they take the medical history. So if that is the case, the people are given genetic counseling to
Okay.
avoid the same thing, problems
To
in the
happen
later
again.
pregnancies.
Okay. So, ma'am, that was about doctors. What about other professionals who are
Yeah.
involved in this?
Yeah, another last is left
Okay.
here. Management of any medical problem at early stage. So as I said, most of our children have epileptic fits. So how to deal with epilepsy? What is the first aid to be given when when the child is having epilepsy? So that is the role of a doctor, to tell the teachers, to tell the people who are around. And dealing with autism at an early stage, helping the parents identify children with autism, helping the parents, deciding the teaching techniques and other things.
So, it's all about early
Diets.
detection.
Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, the next level the next type of
Then
professionals.
therapist, as I said, the role of therapist is very important. It could be a speech therapist, or it could be an occupational therapist, it could be a physiotherapist. Now we come to speech therapist. Role of speech therapist is meets students' communication needs. Second, language development or pronunciation of words. Third is vocabulary. Fourth is reading common signs. Now, as I said, most of our children, they have problems with sounds and speech and language. So now, if you can't speak, if you don't have language, that doesn't mean you can't communicate. And that is the role of a
Speech therapist.
speech therapist. So what do? They teach communication through various ways. Either it could be a non-verbal communication, or it could be, if the child is unable to speak, it is non-verbal communication, or using various communication boards, or using gestures or sign language, and they all kind of we call total communication.
Okay.
So all these things are taught by a speech therapist if the child is unable to. But otherwise they do speech therapy in order helping the child to speak. So that is the speech therapy they do, and they are also involved in audiometry, finding out how much is the hearing loss, and what kind of hearing aid is useful for this child. So all those things, that's the role of a speech therapist.
So, ma'am, fumbling and stammering also kinds of examples of this.
These are all kind of speech and language problems. Okay, speech and language problems in people. Again, this is the role of a speech therapist, how to correct these by speech sessions. Laga lo. Yeah. Now the next, so again I'll read it. Role of a speech therapist: meeting students' communication needs, ताकि उसको जिस तरह से भी communication बच्चा कर पाएगा वो उसको provide करना, and उसका जो है उसकी language development करना by giving sessions in speech therapy, vocabulary को develop करना by making all kind of aids for him. Reading common signs, and any like if the child is unable to speak, then we teach them signs, how to communicate to people. So we go on to the next therapist, that is the role of a physiotherapist. Now what is the role of a physiotherapist? As you can see on the screen, assess students' needs to provide interventions related to gross motor skills. Then interpret information about a student's physical needs that has been provided by a physician. Next, to students with disability, a physiotherapist provide direct training in large muscle movement and control. Next, they monitor students' needs related to how they should be positioned, whether in wheelchair or on floor, how their physical needs are affecting educational needs. So this is the role of a physiotherapist. We go one by one. So basically, physiotherapists are involved in assessing the large muscles skills, like gross motor skills. In other words, like they are responsible for assessing how well he is walking, his gait, his balance, he's working on these things, eye-hand coordination, all those things. If the child is having a problem, muscle power, if the child is having problem in holding a pen, muscles are weak, so providing help in strengthening, toning of his muscles and all those things. So that is the role of a physiotherapist. Why he does all that is so that he can make use of the classroom teaching. So all these problems doesn't interfere in his learning problem. He provides some kind of support, some kind of help in form of exercise or whatever, extra support or extra adapted, equipment. So the role is that the child is able to अपनी क्लास में जो है वो
To be as normal as the other kids as he can be.
Yeah, he can make maximum benefit of the classroom teaching. ये मकसद हमारा ये है. So I think and then obviously हर बच्चे को assess करना, देखना कि उसको कोई physical problem तो नहीं है जो उसकी learning को interfere कर रही है. तो अक्सर on and off physiotherapist जो है उनकी assess करते रहते हैं उनकी physical needs को और करते रहते हैं कि वो क्या problem है क्या नहीं problem है. That's what they keep doing.
So that means we just discussed about the therapists, that is the speech therapist, who emphasize on not just speech communication but total communication.
Exactly.
That words are not the only mode of communication. There are other
yes.
modes as well.
Yes.
And then the physiotherapists who emphasize on how the muscular activities, large muscles and everything can be controlled and helped so that it's beneficial for the child.
Because आपको पता है positioning in space, spatial concepts, unless the child is maintaining his balance में ही problem है तो फिर बाकी चीज़ें कैसे होंगी. तो ये सब काम जो है ये फिजियोथेरेपिस्ट देखता है. आई हैंड कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं होगा तो बाकी पढ़ाई लिखाई कैसी होगी.
Okay.
So
that means till now we have discussed about the various services that are provided for the mental retardation patients, the various professionals that are involved in this development process, the special educators, the psychologists, the speech therapists as well as the physiotherapists. We'll move ahead with the other professionals, but now it's time for a short break, so see you after the break.
The state of knowledge exists. The will, the capacity, and method are usually the problem. मानसिक मंदता एक ऐसी विकलांगता है जो 18 वर्ष की आयु से पूर्व कभी भी हो सकती है, जिसमें व्यवहार अनुकूलता में कमी एवं बुद्धि क्षमता 70% से कम होती है. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. भारतीय पुनर्वास परिषद द्वारा देश भर में पंजीकृत केंद्र इस बात को प्रमाणित करते हैं. NIMH प्रादेशिक केंद्र नई दिल्ली एक ऐसा ही केंद्र है जहां छात्रों को प्रशिक्षण दिया जाता है. जिसके उपरांत वे मंद बुद्धि बच्चों की सेवा में नियुक्त होते हैं. क्लासरूम टीचिंग, ग्रुप टीचिंग एवं भारतीय पुनर्वास परिषद के नव शिखर चैनल पर प्रसारित टेलीकॉन्फ्रेंसेस द्वारा संबंधित विषयों पर विस्तार पूर्वक ज्ञान दिया जाता है. मेडिकल, ऑक्यूपेशनल थेरेपी, फिजियोथेरेपी, स्पीच थेरेपी, साइकोलॉजी और स्पेशल एजुकेशन जैसे क्षेत्रों में छात्रों को प्रशिक्षित किया जाता है. प्रयोगात्मक अनुभव एवं अभ्यास के लिए टीचर ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम के उपरांत छात्रों को मंद बुद्धि बच्चों के साथ कक्षाओं में नियुक्त किया जाता है और इंडिविजुअलाइज्ड एजुकेशन प्लान का भी आधार बनाया जाता है, जिससे वे संपूर्ण शिक्षा एवं चिकित्सा शैली को समझ सकें। इस पूरे प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम के दौरान विद्यार्थी जर्नल्स, न्यूज़लेटर्स, पेरियोडिकल्स, चार्ट्स, मॉडल्स, कंप्यूटर ट्रेनिंग एवं टेक्स्ट बुक्स का उपयोग कर सकते हैं। कहते हैं, कीप योर फेस टू द सनशाइन एंड यू कैन नॉट सी द शैडो। इसी बात को ध्यान में रखते हुए विद्यार्थियों को सरकारी एवं गैर सरकारी संस्थाओं में नियुक्त किया जाता है, जहां वे मंदबुद्धि बच्चों के लिए निरीक्षण, प्रशिक्षण एवं अनुसंधान का दायित्व संभालते हैं। और इसके पश्चात ये विद्यार्थी इस प्रशिक्षण का उपयोग मंदबुद्धि बच्चों के सामाजिक एवं शैक्षणिक उत्थान एवं विकास में करते हैं और एक लक्ष्य की ओर आगे बढ़ते हैं। और फिर लक्ष्य कितना ही दूर हो, फासला नजरों का धोखा भी तो हो सकता है। वो मिले या ना मिले, हाथ बढ़ाकर देखो।
Welcome back after the break. We were discussing about the role of professionals in mental retardation. We've discussed about the psychologists, the special educators, and now we were talking about the therapists. We've discussed about speech therapists and the physiotherapists. Now we come to occupational therapists.
Now let us see the role of occupational therapists. See on the screen. Occupational therapists are concerned with the fine motor skills. Yeah, they assess students' use of their hands and fingers. Then they develop and implement plans for improving their motor skills. So what we are basically saying, you know, occupational therapists are generally, they are associated with improving their hand functions. Now unless their hand functions are working in order, obviously the students will have problems in their classroom. तो classroom में किसी भी तरह की problem हो सकती है उनको, पेंसिल पकड़ने में, खेलने में, और अपने लिखने में और अपने पढ़ने में। तो हैंड फंक्शंस किसी भी तरह का हैंड फंक्शन है, बॉल थ्रो करनी है, और इस तरह के बीड्स को वो करना है, कॉपी में लिखना है, वो बनानी है, बोट बनानी है विद दिस थिंग, आर्ट एंड क्राफ्ट खेलना है, कुछ भी करना है, तो हैंड फंक्शंस जो है should be in order, and that is a function of occupational therapist, because unless the small pincer grasp is in order, obviously you will not be able to do anything what you are supposed to do with your hands, and most of the study is done with your hands. So OT plays, occupational therapists play a big role in this. Shall we go on to the next? Next is social worker. Social worker, most of the school they have social workers. Now what is the role of a social worker? As you can see on the screen, they help in building a liaison between school and family. They are the link between the school and the family, and वो स्कूल और फैमिली में लियन बनाते हैं, और उसके बाद वो कई बारी होम विजिट्स भी करते हैं, क्योंकि कई बारी ऐसा होता है कि समझ नहीं आती है कि बच्चा स्कूल में प्रॉब्लम क्यों कर रहा है, माँ कुछ कह रही है, बच्चा कुछ कह रहा है, तो वो घर में जाके देखते हैं कि होम में कुछ प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है, घर में कुछ ऐसी बात तो नहीं है। पहले मैं सारा पढ़ देती हूँ एक बार, फिर से मैं आपको बताती हूँ। Then case history taking and serving as a case manager. The next is available to need of the students. Then giving information regarding government schemes, benefits and concessions. तो जैसा कि मैंने आपको पहले बताया कि सोशल वर्कर का जो रोल है वो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। सबको पता है कि बच्चे के साथ हम काम तभी अच्छे से कर सकते हैं जबकि हम फैमिली को भी इन्वॉल्व करें। अगर हम फैमिली को इन्वॉल्व नहीं करते हैं, सिर्फ बच्चे के साथ काम करते हैं, तो हमारा करा हुआ जो काम है वो इतना अहमियत नहीं रखता है, उसकी इतनी वो फ़ायदा नहीं हो पाता है। एंड नाउ इवन द रिसर्चेस हैव शोन कि भाई अगर आप बच्चे के साथ काम करते हो तो फैमिली के साथ काम करना भी उतना ही इम्पॉर्टेंट है जितना कि बच्चे के साथ। तो फैमिली ओरिएंटेड सर्विसेज आजकल ज़्यादा चलता है रादर देन चाइल्ड ओरिएंटेड सर्विसेज। तो जब अब ये फैमिली के साथ लिंक रखना बड़ा ज़रूरी है कि ये जो फैमिली है उनका रोल क्या है, बच्चे के साथ कैसा चल रहा है, हाउ दे आर बिहेविंग एंड ऑल, ये सब जो है ये सोशल वर्कर देखता है कि फैमिली में पेरेंट और माँ का कैसे है, और जो अदर एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली है, इन लॉज हैं या ब्रदर सिस्टर हैं या उसके ब्रदर सिस्टर हैं, मदर एंड फादर के, वो भी अगर रह रहे हैं तो उनके साथ ये बच्चे का कैसा है व्यवहार, और क्या कौन किसका व्यवहार इसके सीखने में इंटरफेयर कर रहा है. सो ऑल दिस थिंग्स, आई मीन वट एवर इज हेम्परिंग द ग्रोथ ऑफ अ चाइल्ड और लर्निंग ऑफ अ चाइल्ड, द सोशल वर्कर कीप्स ट्रैक ऑफ दैट. और फिर मैंने कहा अगर ज़रूरत पड़ती है तो वो होम विजिट भी करती हैं अगर ज़रूरत पड़े. एंड देन दूसरी बात मैंने आपको कही कि किसी भी तरह की कोई प्रॉब्लम होती है हमारे पेरेंट्स को या टीचर्स को, या कोई जैसे कि पेरेंट्स को कभी डॉक्टर के पास दिखाना है, बच्चे को कभी चोट लग गई या डॉक्टर को पास दिखाना है, तो सोशल वर्कर वो अरेंज करेगा विज़िट क्या है क्या नहीं. और अगर किसी भी तरह की, जब बच्चा आता है सबसे पहले सोशल वर्कर के पास ही आता है, क्योंकि हिस्ट्री टेकिंग जो है दैट इज़ द रोल ऑफ ये सोशल वर्कर, कि उसकी मेडिकल हिस्ट्री क्या है, जो बच्चे की नेटल हिस्ट्री क्या थी जब बच्चा पैदा हुआ तो क्या था, और जो एजुकेशनल हिस्ट्री क्या है, फैमिली हिस्ट्री क्या है, ऑल काइंड ऑफ जो हिस्ट्री फ्रॉम वेरियस कॉर्नर्स जो है, ये हमारा जो है सोशल वर्कर का काम होता है कि वो उसको हम कहते हैं कि जो केस हिस्ट्री रिकॉर्ड वो भरती हैं केस हिस्ट्री, और फिर जाके फिर वो देखती है कि अब इसको कहाँ जाना है, क्या IQ असेस करानी है तो वो फिर IQ के लिए भेज देगी, और अगर उसको थेरेपी की भी ज़रूरत है तो OTPT के लिए भेज देगी. और बाद में जब ये सब हो जाएगा तो ये सब का बना के वो एक क्लास टीचर जिसकी क्लास में स्पेशल एजुकेटर की क्लास में बच्चा है, उनको ये सारा बता देती हैं कि ये बच्चे को क्या क्या ज़रूरी है और आपको क्या क्या करना है. And a social worker is always available to any problem of the student. कभी इमोशनल प्रॉब्लम हो गई, कभी कोई सोशल प्रॉब्लम हो गई, आज मेरे को मम्मी ने डांट दिया तो मुझे बहुत बुरा लग रहा है, तो सोशल वर्कर हमेशा उसको काउंसलिंग करने के लिए तैयार रहती हैं. कई स्कूलों में सोशल वर्कर्स होते हैं, कई स्कूलों में काउंसलर्स होते हैं, एंड दे प्ले द सेम रोल. तो उनको किसी भी तरह की प्रॉब्लम है, चाहे कोई फिजिकल प्रॉब्लम, इमोशनल प्रॉब्लम, दे कैन गेट इन टच विद द सोशल वर्कर and they accordingly give help. And another thing which social workers are doing in special schools is they provide help and they provide information to all the parents, like what are the various benefits available from the government, so that they can get those benefits. तो ये बहुत ही important information जो होती है, ये social worker जो है बताती है कौन कौन से बेनिफिट्स मिल सकते हैं. क्या आपको टैक्स बेनिफिट हो सकता है जिनका बच्चा मेंटली हैंडीकैप है, और अगर टैक्स हो सकता है तो कितना टैक्स मिलेगा उनको क्या पेपर्स चाहिए, कौन सा पेपर भरना होगा, कौन सी मिनिस्ट्री में जाना होगा, ऑल दोज थिंग्स. और बच्चे के लिए क्या क्या बेनिफिट्स अवेलेबल हैं, बच्चे को किस तरह का स्कॉलरशिप मिल सकता है, बच्चे को किस तरह की फाइनेंशियल एड मिल सकती है. Information about all these things a social worker provides to the family of a disabled child.
So that means a social worker has basically is a bridge between the schools and the families
and the community.
Okay, and they have to cater to all the emotional, social needs of the patient.
Exactly.
And be a source of information as well about the government agencies and everything else involved in this.
Okay. अब कई बार क्या होता है, psychologist is busy with her work, assessment and behavioral problem and this and that. बट सोशल वर्कर उनको आके बताती है कि जो आप प्रोग्राम, बच्चे को बिहेवियरल प्रॉब्लम इसलिए कम नहीं हो रही है बिकॉज देयर इज it's a single family, or maybe there's a rift between the husband and wife, because she has found that.
Because they undergo the case studies.
Exactly. So it is, so all are involved, yeah. Now we go on to the next profession, that is a counselor. As I said, in some schools there are social workers, in some schools there are counselors. Counselors are almost doing the same job, but counselors are appointed in regular schools, in all regular schools. Actually, what is their job? Let us see on the screen. Most often they advise high school students. In the disability area, they assess students' self-concept, motivation, attitude towards school, peers and teachers. For teachers, they suggest ways to help their students to deal with disability. For students, they arrange group sessions, quiz or many other group work regarding how to interact with peers who have disability. So as I said, social counselors, first of all, they have a role at a high level with students in regular schools who are studying in 11th and 12th, to guide them for various career options. So that is the main job of a counselor. But in case in schools, if there are disabled children also, then counselor's job is to provide help to disabled children as well. Now what is the help they provide? They do coordination with the teachers. They also do coordination with the other students who are called normal. So they provide information and also how to deal with these children with disability to other children who are having normal IQ. That is number one. Number two is that now awareness is, students are not, they don't get information in the form of lectures. Now counselors, they arrange group work, group sessions, quiz, and the quiz will be on a topic like, what do you think we should show empathy, sympathy or empathy towards people with mental retardation. So have a quiz on this. So some people will talk for it, some people will talk against it. Now it is up to the students. Now this is how their attitude will be formed. So without any lecture, the students have understood the message a counselor was about to give. So this is the role of a counselor, making aware other people in their peers, their teachers, like what are the needs of these children and how they should behave towards these children.
Ma'am,
So
we just have a question from one of our viewers.
Okay.
So
Can we take that
Yeah.
question? Okay.
Hello.
hello. Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I just need to ask, कि जो social workers होते हैं, how can we contact to a social worker?
Okay, ma'am. She wants to ask, how can we contact the social workers? Probably she's trying to ask that what is the source of reaching out to the social workers, or
Well,
where exactly to look out for them.
Okay. Actually, in all the schools, social workers are there.
Okay.
But if they don't have one, so they must be having a counselor, or somebody in the school would have been given this kind of responsibility.
Okay. I hope the question has been
Yeah.
answered.
This is up to the schools. In most of the schools they have, and if they don't, then obviously they are missing on these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's just part
basically,
of
we
the
should
team.
look out to the schools and go and
Exactly.
inquire at the schools that where what are the numbers and the details of the social workers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the schools appoint either a social worker or a counselor.
All right.
Shall we go on to the next professional? That is the role of a vocational instructor. Let's see on the screen what we have to say about vocational instructor. They are responsible for job identification, placement and follow-up. Second, for training in vocations after assessing the aptitude and interest of the client. Next, programming for persons with mental retardation in the various vocations they are interested in. Then vocational counseling. So what we are trying to say is, after the child has turned 16, now all of us, when we turn 16, we are out of the school and we are looking for a vocation, or we are going for higher education. So in case of our children, after 16, 17 or 18, we say, now the child, they have been given pre-vocational training, and now the child is ready to work in the world of work. Now here comes the role of a vocational counselor. अब आप किसी भी जगह में तो उसको डाल नहीं सकते कि आप वहाँ जाओ नौकरी कर लो, आप लेक्चरर की नौकरी कर लो, या आप टीचर की नौकरी कर लो, या आप नर्स की नौकरी, आप ऐसा तो नहीं कर सकते जैसा कि हम सब करते हैं कि मेरा एप्टीट्यूड इसमें है, मुझे ये नौकरी करनी है, मुझे तो ऐसे ही हमें इन बच्चों का भी एप्टीट्यूड और इंटरेस्ट देखना पड़ता है. इसके लिए भी असेसमेंट होती है. इसमें असेसमेंट फंक्शनल लेवल की नहीं होती, इसमें असेसमेंट वोकेशनल एप्टीट्यूड की होती है. तो वो भी हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को सिखाया जाता है. उसके लिए भी स्टैंडर्डाइज स्केल्स हैं जिसमें हम ये देखते हैं कि इस पर्टिकुलर बच्चे का एप्टीट्यूड किस में है, ये कौन से वोकेशन में फिट बैठेगा. तो हमारे वो ड्यूटी किसकी होती है, वोकेशनल इंस्ट्रक्टर की. और ये अलग से ट्रेंड होते हैं, दे आर नॉट स्पेशल एजुकेटेड, दे आर ट्रेंड इन डिप्लोमा इन वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग, DVT, कि भाई उनके जो वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग में एक डिप्लोमा होता है 2 साल का या 1 साल का, जिसमें उनको इन्हीं चीज़ों में ट्रेन करा जाता है कि एट दैट स्टूडेंट एट दैट एज, तो वो उनका काम ये होता है। फिर उनका ये भी काम होता है कि अगर उनको काउंसलिंग देनी कि भाई आपको कौन सा वोकेशन आपको सूट करेगा। काउंसलिंग किसके साथ? बच्चे के साथ अलॉन्ग विद द फैमिली, कि भाई मान लीजिए आपकी फैमिली का कोई अपना ऑलरेडी कोई कोई बिजनेस है या कोई काम कर रहे हैं, या फादर के पास कोई ऐसी जगह है जिसमें ये कोई काम ऐसा कर सकता है। फिर ये देखेगा कि उस जॉब में हमारा ये वाला बच्चा जो है क्या काम कर पाएगा। से फॉर एग्जांपल इफ़ यू हैव अ फैक्ट्री, तो क्या ये बच्चा कोई चीज़ों को लाके एंट्री कर पाएगा, कोई चीज़ आ रही है तो एंट्री करना काम है, या कोई चीज़ उठा के कहीं पे रख देगा, या नट्स एंड बोल्ट्स, या कुछ धोएगा, क्लीन करेगा, वट एवर। इफ इज़ वर्किंग इन अ डॉक्टर्स क्लिनिक, देन मे बी व्हाट काइंड ऑफ वर्क विल ही बी डूइंग, वेदर इट इज़ क्लीनिंग द यूटेंसिल या क्लीनिंग द क्लिनिक, तो ये डिपेंड करता है। ये सब क्या कौन करेगा? वोकेशनल इंस्ट्रक्टर करेगा। और फिर जब उसको पता चल जाएगा कि वो काम कर सकता है, तो उसके लिए वो प्रोग्राम भी बनाएगा ताकि वो इसमें इस काम को उसको ट्रेन कर सके बिफोर सेंडिंग हिम टू द वर्ल्ड ऑफ वर्क। तो ये काम वोकेशनल इंस्ट्रक्टर का होता है।
So that means we just discussed about the counselors who are mainly for the educational counseling and to decide that how the child can move up with the educational ladder, and then about the vocational instructors, that if not education, then what else? What are the other
the child is fit for?
Other professions that the child can work in?
Right.
All
lovely.
right. I am actually personally I came across an interview, an article recently that said that there was a child who had a mental disability and he scored more than 90% in his boards. So
he has got which problem? Sorry,
he had a mental disability.
Okay.
I'm not sure of what disability exactly, but then he had a mental problem and he got more than 90% in his boards. So
when was it?
When the results were out. So,
but it could be, I don't know, I would like to know the detail. But some of the children, as I said, they can't go, they can't do the normal CBSE system. So we have another system for their schooling which is called NIOS.
Okay.
So slow learner, or the children who are having mild mental retardation or children of borderline cases, they can, in NIOS we have flexibility. They can select subjects of their choice. If they can't do maths, they can not choose that, and they can pass those exams over a span of so many years, like maybe 5 years. So that flexibility is there. And they are also given some kind of concessions also, like you can get more time, or you will get more hours, some scribe or whatever. So what I'm saying, maybe that, and I have to know the details, but some of our children have gone past NIOS ka 10th and 12th.
So basically it's most important
We have to know
for
what is his
awareness.
level, but it depends what level was he at.
So it's very important to be aware of all the options available, so that you can go in for what is suited best for you.
Exactly. So CBS is not the only option.
Okay.
There are other options. So these things social worker can tell them.
Yeah.
Right? So then, if sometimes in very few schools, so far the professionals we have talked about, most of the schools have those, and they should have. Otherwise, it's not a complete team. As I said, a role of all the professionals different, right, for a child. So, and the child requires all those input. So, unless they are there, if they're not there, then their job, who will take care? So that means there is something missing. But in some cases, if there are people with visual impairment, so we have mobility specialists, we call, in order to train the people with visual disability impairment for mobility. So they are called mobility specialists, as you can see on the screen. They help students with visual impairment how to become familiar with their assignment, how to travel from place to place, keeping in view their safety. तो ये सब चीज़ें जो हैं ये मोबिलिटी स्पेशलिस्ट बताते हैं. इसी तरह से कई स्कूलों में साइन लैंग्वेज इंटरप्रेटर होते हैं. आपने देखा होगा वेयर एवर देयर इज़ अ बिग फंक्शन जो डिसेबल्ड लोगों के लिए होता है, वहाँ पे इंटरप्रेटर भी होता है. तो जो भी मिनिस्टर कह रहा है या कोई और एक्सपर्ट कह रहा है, दैट इज़ इंटरप्रेटेड इन साइन लैंग्वेज, बिकॉज आवर चिल्ड्रन विद हियरिंग इम्पेयरमेंट दे कांट हियर बट दे कैन सी दिस, दे कैन अंडरस्टैंड द साइन लैंग्वेज. तो कई जगह पर ये तो क्या होता है, तो शुरू से इनको ये सिखाई जाती है. तो क्या होता है, जो क्लासरूम में टीचर कर रही है, इंटरप्रेटर का काम है कि वो साइन लैंग्वेज में साथ साथ इस बच्चे के लिए उसको रिले करती जाए. So as you can see on the screen, the role of a sign language interpreter is communication link for students with hearing impairment, and they interpret whatever instruction the teacher is giving in the classroom and they relay it to the student. So this is how students are helped. They do not miss what a teacher has said because of their hearing problem, and they have understood whatever, because
So they
it
act
was
as a media of communication between the teachers and the students.
exactly. So they are kind of, it's a link. You
Yeah.
said very rightly. Yes.
Okay.
Right. Now we go on to the next, role of administrators. Let's not miss them, because in the school administrators play a big role. Whatever we all are doing, we are doing under them.
Okay.
Now if an administrator doesn't have a positive attitude toward disability, then whole thing will not be successful. The whole process will not be successful, right? As you have seen in various schools, principals are not sensitive towards disability. There, children with disability are not admitted sometimes, but now they can't do that. Let me say that also. Now with this Disability Act, we are bound by, legally bound by an act, Disability Act, and UNCRPD also. So they can't say no. But generally I'm saying, if the principal is not willing, topmost administrator, then obviously whatever we are doing is of no value. Role of administrators. Let us understand what is the role of administrator. School principal or the team leaders are administrators who are likely to participate actively in the education of students with disability, right? So they are the administrators, and they will offer knowledge about school and special education. They are the people who will offer knowledge to the community, to various people whosoever is visiting, about their school and special education in their school. So they should have all those qualities in them. Their administrators will assist the multidisciplinary team in determining student eligibility for services and exploring strategies for meeting their needs. Then address parents' concern. So administrator role is very big. First of all, when a parent comes, they will visit the principal, and then again the principal will decide on what services the child will require, and the child will be sent for various services. So you can all understand that what is the role of a good administrator. So administrators should have a positive attitude, should have sensitivity towards this field. Only then they will allow all these things. They will allow the parents to make use of these services which are existing in the school.
So for a person to become an administrator, I think he has to go down from the bottom level to see the root level first and then go up, or is it that
There are eligibility criteria
Okay.
for the principals and for the heads of the school.
Okay.
If they fulfill that, and obviously there is this condition, if they are working, if they are special school administrators, then obviously one of the condition is that you have undergone this training and all.
Okay.
So eligibility criteria is laid, and accordingly they are appointed. Now parents,
they're the most important?
most important. Yeah, but most neglected also, I would say, in some schools. Now let us first understand what are their role, and then we will discuss. Their role is provide input on their child's strength and needs, provide help in deciding if the child has a disability. Next, assist in writing goals and objectives for their child's educational program. Then participation in delivery instruction, meaning teaching to the child. Next, working with school professionals to resolve behavioral and academic problems. So as we can understand, and we have just seen on the screen, that their role is a big role. But as we said earlier, that they have to first accept the child, only then they can play this role. First of all, they have to help the professional in understanding that their child has a disability. In other words, they have to give correct information. You know, some of the parents, they don't give correct information.
Out of embarrassment or out of fear.
Stigma, fear, embarrassment, what others will think. But it's no longer, it's all depends upon, if you keep on hiding, then its stigma will never be. If people see disabled children right from the beginning when they are small, then we will all get used to seeing them. Then it will not be a stigma. So this is the help we give to the parents. So earlier the better. And now you will see gradually, it is disappearing. So they have to tell very clearly what are the strengths and what are the problem they are facing. घर में तो कोई problem ही नहीं है जी. घर पे तो कुछ भी नहीं है, यहीं पे प्रॉब्लम है. सो वो फिर हमें कैसे पता चलेगा? तो पर वो उनका अपने रीजंस है. वी कांट ब्लेम देम. दे हैव देयर ओन रीजंस. सो वी हैव टू वर्क विद देम वेरी पेशेंटली, वेरी नाइसली, वेरी सिस्टमैटिकली, तो वो फिर हमें वी हैव टू टेल देम दैट वी आर with them. Yeah. वी अंडरस्टैंड, वी एम्पथाइज देम, राइट. तो ये सब बातें हैं. और पेरेंट्स फिर जब बताते हैं तो उनका रोल क्या हो जाता है. उनका रोल यहाँ पे तो अभी नहीं आया है, बट बाहर जैसे देखा, पेरेंट्स आर पार्ट ऑफ द टीम व्हेन वी राइट देयर आईपी. तो अगर पेरेंट कहता है कि मेरे बच्चे को मेरे हिसाब से ये पहले सिखा दीजिए, बिकॉज आई फील दैट इज मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर हिम, द टीम हैज़ टू कंसिडर दैट. So here also we spend lot of time for parents, and we have PTA meetings every now and then so that they can participate actively. We do care about those things. So they also are part and parcel of resolving their academic problems and behavioral problems. क्योंकि जो भी स्पेशल एजुकेटर स्कूल में कर रहा है, जो भी साइकोलॉजिस्ट स्कूल में कर रहा है, वो पेरेंट्स को भी घर में करना है, ताकि वही मेथड रहे, मेथड फ़र्क ना हो जाए. क्योंकि अगर मेथड फ़र्क हो जाएगा तो ऑब्वियसली बच्चा कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा कि मैं इसकी बात सुनूं या उसकी बात सुनूं. तो इसलिए उनको एक दूसरे के साथ कोऑर्डिनेशन लिंक बना के रहना है, ताकि एक दूसरे के साथ कम्युनिकेशन में रहना है कि आप कौन सा मेथड यूज़ कर रहे हो, ताकि मैं वही मेथड इन बच्चों के साथ यूज़ करूँ. नाउ रोल ऑफ पेरेंट्स जब हमने कहा तो पेरेंट्स को इन्वॉल्व करने के बहुत सारे फ़ायदे हैं, हम उसकी भी बात कर लें.
So that means it's very important to counsel the parents as well, not just the child, but very important to counsel the parents as well, so that the parents can also deal with the child simultaneously.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, वेरी वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट. तो पेरेंट्स को इन्वॉल्व करने के फ़ायदे बहुत है. नुकसान क्या है? बहुत कम है, पर फ़ायदे ज़्यादा है.
Okay.
राइट. हाँ, तो कौन कौन से फ़ायदे हैं? अब जो इंटरवेंशन प्रोग्राम कैन बी carried home for further practice and supplementary teaching. This strengthens the behavior of a child and increases the rate of learning. Next, parents' involvement increase the personal worth and sense of participation. Parents begin to feel more responsible for the fulfillment of their child's needs and requirements. Then parents understand their child better than anyone else. This knowledge can be utilized by the teachers to select appropriate and functional behavioral objectives for teaching the child with mental handicap. So these are the few advantages which I have listed. Working with the parents. जैसे कि मैंने बताया, सबसे बड़ी एडवांटेज ये है, बच्चा घर में ज़्यादा देर के लिए रहता है एज कम्पेयर टू
Outside,
और मैं कहूँ सेम टाइम बिताता है. तो पेरेंट्स की भी उतनी ही रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है जितनी की टीचर है. और दूसरी बात, एज आई जस्ट सेड, कि वो ट्रांसफ़र करते हैं लर्निंग घर से बाहर, और बाहर करेंगे मतलब स्कूल से घर और घर से बाहर. तो अगर स्कूल से ठीक लर्निंग घर पे जाइए तो वही लर्निंग बाहर कम्युनिटी में भी होगी. तो ये सबसे बड़ा फ़ायदा है. दूसरा क्या है? नेचुरल सेटिंग में भी लर्निंग हो रही है. तीसरा क्या है कि हमने ये देखा है, और हम ये कह नहीं रहे हैं, स्टडीज़ ने हमें बताया है, रिसर्च ने हमें बताया है. आई हैव ऑल्सो डन रिसर्च विद द सिबलिंग्स एंड पेरेंट्स, एंड व्हाट वी हैव फाउंड दैट इफ़ यू वर्क विद द पेरेंट्स एंड एज अगेंस्ट इफ यू डोंट वर्क विद द पेरेंट्स, उनको अलग छोड़ दो और आप खुद काम करते रहो, तो पेरेंट फील्स लेफ्ट आउट एंड दे डोंट फील पार्ट ऑफ द चाइल्ड. बट इफ़ यू इन्वॉल्व देम, दे फील वेरी गुड. दे फील एक तो कि उनकी वर्थ महसूस हुई है हमें, लाइक दे आर वर्थ डूइंग समथिंग, एंड दे आर इन्वॉल्व इन द प्रोग्राम ऑफ द चाइल्ड. मतलब दे आर पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ द ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम ऑफ द चाइल्ड. तो वो क्या कहते हैं कि आई एम कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटिंग टुवर्ड्स दिस चाइल्ड. तो अगर नहीं करते हैं तो उनको वही फीलिंग आती है, आई एम गुड फॉर नथिंग, माई चाइल्ड कैन डू नथिंग, आई कैन डू एनीथिंग, एज अ पेरेंट आई कैन डू एनीथिंग. दे कीप ऑन अपने आप को.
So there is more of a satisfaction level also in the parents when they're contributing towards the child's growth.
Exactly. Parents have revealed that in the studies. We feel much better when we are involved in the program as against when we are not involved in the program. Our self concept, our self जो image boost up हो जाती है कि हम भी, जैसे हम पेरेंट्स की तो एक ख्वाहिश होती है, उनका एक वो होता है क्या कि
desire that my child
I should be a contributor towards my child's growth, towards my child, this thing. हमारे इंडियन पेरेंट्स की तो एक ये बहुत खासियत है.
Yeah, so they feel they're completing their duties by contributing to the child.
So professionals should take care of those things. ये बात है. और जैसा कि मैंने बताया, पेरेंट्स से ज़्यादा कोई भी नहीं अच्छा समझ सकता बच्चे को. तो इस पेरेंट्स रोल, तो इसलिए पेरेंट्स को इन्वॉल्व करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, ताकि हमें बच्चे के बारे में सही इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल सके.
So now we have discussed about all the various professionals like the psychologists, the therapists, the counselors, the vocational instructors, doctors, and the parents, who are all very important in their respective areas in the development of the mental retarded child. So we'll continue with our discussion today, but now it's time for a short break. So see you after a break.
हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन। ओ मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन। We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome someday. We shall overcome someday.
The chief handicap of the blindness is not blindness, but the attitude of seeing people towards them. आइए जानने और समझने की कोशिश करते हैं कि बधिरांधता यानी डेफ ब्लाइंडनेस क्या है। बधिरांधता एक स्थिति है जिसमें दृष्टिहीनता एवं सुनने की शक्ति में कमी आती है तथा जिससे विचारों के आदान प्रदान और रोजमर्रा की आवश्यकताओं की पूर्ति में समस्या उत्पन्न होती है। बलराम एक 9 साल का बधिरांध बच्चा है। वो एक प्री मैच्योर बच्चा है जिसका शारीरिक विकास उसकी आयु के अनुरूप नहीं हुआ था। वो एक निम्न वर्गीय श्रेणी से संबंध रखता है तथा 5 साल से लगातार नेशनल एसोसिएशन फॉर ब्लाइंड दिल्ली के प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम से संलग्न है। इन 5 सालों के अंतर्गत उसे रोजमर्रा के कामों में, हलन चलन में, उसकी शैक्षणिक जरूरतों के अनुसार संप्रेषण द्वारा प्रशिक्षण दिया गया है जिससे वो इन सब क्रियाओं में स्वावलंबी बन सके। बलराम बिना किसी सहायता के चाकू से फलों को काट सकता है। उनके छिलकों को कूड़ेदान में डाल सकता है। अपने बर्तनों को खुद साफ कर सकता है। उन्हें सही जगह पर रख सकता है। सही बर्तनों का चयन करके खुद खाना खाता है। एवं पानी की बोतल निकालकर पानी भी पीता है। इन सभी क्रियाओं में वो टेक्चुअल साइन लैंग्वेज से निर्देशों को ग्रहण करता है और अपने भावों को व्यक्त करता है। टेलर फ्रेम और ब्रेलर द्वारा गणित, पठन लेखन में भी प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त कर रहा है। सभी बच्चों की तरह उसका भी एक मनपसंद खेल है। उसे सेल फोन को अपने कानों पर लगाकर उसका कंपन महसूस करना अच्छा लगता है। कहा जाता है, वॉकिंग विद अ फ्रेंड इन डार्क इज बेटर देन वॉकिंग अलोन इन लाइट। कहने का तात्पर्य है कि वो लॉन्ग केन ट्रेवल, टैक्टाइल पाथ, ट्रेलिंग और लैंडमार्क्स द्वारा हलन चलन में भी सक्षम है और व्यायाम संबंधी क्रियाएं जैसे ट्रेडमिल, स्टैटिक साइकिल का स्वचालन भी कर सकता है। कहा गया है, द बेस्ट एंड मोस्ट ब्यूटीफुल थिंग्स इन द वर्ल्ड कैन नॉट बी सीन और इवन टच्ड, दे मस्ट बी फेल्ट विद द हार्ट।
Welcome back after the break. Our discussion of today was about the role of professionals in the development of mental retardation. So now we were discussing about the role of the parents. They are always wanting to contribute towards the growth of their children. So ma'am, what about the role of teachers towards the parents?
Exactly, that's what I wanted to tell you, that even teachers have a great role towards parents. So let us first of all see what is the teacher's role towards parents. As you can see on the screen, they impart information about the child's condition, explain the nature, causes and management techniques for children with mental handicap, help them develop right attitude toward their child with mental handicap, elaborate the role of parents in the training and rehabilitation of these children, make plans and programs for teaching appropriate behaviors to the child at home. As you can see on the screen, it is self-explanatory. Teachers also have a great role towards parents. First of all, they have to encourage the parents to participate in the training program of their child. Second, they also have to involve in everything. Not that sometimes what happens, teachers decide on their own what is required for their child and they start teaching what is required for the child. So parents always feel that they are not part and parcel of the school program. So teachers should always take care that parents को वो बुला के या फ़ोन पे बताए कि मैं ये पढ़ा रही हूँ और ऐसा आपने भी घर में पढ़ाना है. और दूसरी बात, उनको जो है बताना चाहिए हमेशा कि कॉजेज़ क्या होते हैं, मेंटल रिटार्डेशन होती क्या है, इनके कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स क्या होते हैं. ऐसा होगा तो आपको कोई चिंता की बात नहीं है. बच्चा ऐसे करेगा तो आपको चिंता की बात नहीं है, आपको बल्कि जानना है कि बच्चा ऐसे करेगा तो मुझे क्या करना है. और उनको ये भी बताना है कि बच्चे के लिए स्कूल में आना कितना ज़रूरी है, आपको स्कूल में आना कितना ज़रूरी है. ये सब बातें पेरेंट्स को बतानी पड़ेंगी. हम क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं, हम कैसे पढ़ा रहे हैं, और ये सब जो है उनको पेरेंट्स को बताना पड़ेगा.
So that means it's very important for the parents and the teachers to be actively involved and participative with each other.
बड़ा जरूरी
Not just the child, but interaction amongst the teachers and parents is very important.
बड़ा जरूरी है. तो अभी आपने जब हमने सुबह से जो डिस्कशन करी है, बहुत सारे प्रोफेशंस की बात करी है, राइट. प्रोफेशंस, बहुत सारे प्रोफेशनल्स इन्वॉल्व हैं इन ट्रेनिंग द पर्सन विद मेंटल रिटार्डेशन. पर अभी आप जो बात कर रहे हो, अभी बीच बीच में हम जो ये बात कर रहे हैं, हम ये कह रहे हैं कि पेरेंट्स को टीचर के साथ इन्वॉल्वमेंट करनी है, साइकोलॉजिस्ट को टीचर्स के साथ इन्वॉल्वमेंट करनी है, डॉक्टर को सब सारों के साथ कोऑर्डिनेट करना है, सोशल वर्कर को सबके साथ कोऑर्डिनेट करना है, स्पेशल एजुकेशन को सबके साथ कोऑर्डिनेट करना है. हम बीच बीच में ये भी बातें कर रहे हैं. सो व्हाट आर वी सेइंग? What we are saying that it is not only necessary to have teamwork, it is not only necessary to have multi-professionals in a team, it is also important to have interdisciplinary team. In other words, it is also important to share the information with all these professionals so that we can work with the child in holistic manner. एक छोटी सी आप, आई थिंक माई स्टूडेंट्स आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज कि अगर एक बच्चा आता है और हमारे पास आता है और उसको बहुत सारे प्रोफेशनल्स की ज़रूरत है क्योंकि उसकी नीड्स बहुत सारी हैं, और एक साइकोलॉजिस्ट उसको अपनी तरह से डील कर रहा है और स्पेशल एजुकेटर उसको अपनी पढ़ाने लिखाने के लिए डील कर रहा है, डॉक्टर अपनी मेडिकल प्रॉब्लम के लिए डील कर रहा है, और थेरेपिस्ट अपनी उसको थेरेपी के लिए डील कर रहा है, तो और पेरेंट्स अब उसको घर ले जा रहे हैं, तो बच्चा को कहाँ से इनपुट मिल रहे हैं, इधर से भी, इधर से भी, इधर से भी, इधर से भी, एंड चाइल्ड इज टोटली, और मे भी हो सकता है जो इनपुट साइकोलॉजिस्ट ने दिया उसका ओवरलैपिंग स्पेशल एजुकेटर भी,
So it might be confusing for the child.
सो और थेरेपिस्ट जो इनपुट दे रहा है वो जरूरी है, जो स्पेशल एजुकेशन के लिए टीचर के लिए भी इनपुट जरूरी है. सो आइदर देयर इज अ डुप्लीकेशन ऑफ सर्विसेज और द चाइल्ड इज टोटली कंफ्यूज कि मुझे तो वहाँ पे ये करा था, यहाँ पे भी यही है, डुप्लीकेशन हो गया, और या उसने तो मुझे ऐसे बताया था और ये टीचर मुझे ऐसे करा रहा है. सो देयर कुड बी अ बिग chaos. तो एक बहुत जो है वो हो सकता है. सो प्रोफेशनल्स बहुत सारे चाहिए, पर मैं ये हमेशा कहती हूँ प्रोफेशनल्स शुड ऑलवेज वर्क इन अ टीम, एंड व्हेन दे वर्क इन अ टीम वी कॉल इट इज अ इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी टीम. Okay, we don't call it is a multidisciplinary team, it is an interdisciplinary team. What is the difference between multidisciplinary team and interdisciplinary team? This is the only difference. In multiple disciplinary team, many professionals are participating in the habilitation program of a child. In interdisciplinary team, many professionals are participating in the team, but they're also sharing the information with each other. That is the only difference, so that a child has just one program which a teacher is implementing in the classroom from the various professionals.
All the professionals have to interact with each other, to
very
coordinate with each other, to be harmonious, so that the child grasps one thing, not various different things from different
sources. One plan is prepared for him. Whether it is a therapy, whether it is a speech therapy, a teacher is conducting, teacher is coordinating, special educator, but having input from all these
sources.
That is the main. So now, to wind up, we can say, what are the advantages of multidisciplinary team? I mean interdisciplinary team.
Yeah.
So just because people are more familiar with multidisciplinary team, I have used that word, but actually speaking we say interdisciplinary team. Now let us see on the screen. Team. Why we say team? Team meaning we all are working together and sharing information. Team तभी बनेगी ना, together. Together is the word. Team can mutually contribute and evolve better plans and strategies to work with MR. Yeah, it's very clear. Teamwork minimizes the possibility of error and omissions in planning or programming for the child with mental handicap. Right? Multidisciplinary team becomes mutually informed about the varying but complementary roles played by different professionals in the care and management of people with mental retardation. A team approach alone can enable achieving this consistency in the use of behavioral technique with mentally handicapped children in the school or in classroom setting or at home. So these are the advantages of working in an interdisciplinary team. Most important is all of us are sharing, all of us are coming to consensus and then planning the program for a child.
So there are always better plans and strategies since everybody is combined and coordinated.
It's not one brain, it is all brain.
Working together.
And then there is a consistency. ये plan बना है, ये हमने सबने बनाया है. It is not you made this plan, I made this plan, and this is the plan. It will be carried forward when carried to the next class when he goes to the next class, so that the teacher knows what was done earlier.
So it's more of group effort, not individual, not me, you, I, but it's we, us working together.
Teamwork. It is a teamwork.
Okay.
But again, when you work in a team,
there have to be conflicts.
Exactly.
Ma'am, this was something I also wanted to ask you personally. I mean, you've been working in this field for so long. So have there ever been any disappointments or anything that you felt was not right when you were working? Anything that you felt was lagging?
Very often.
So how do you deal with it?
Sometimes my colleague will not agree with me. Sometimes, I feel why suggestion has not been taken up. But that's the advantages of a teamwork, you know. Then we all brainstorm, we all discuss, we share why I'm saying this. These are the reasons. Then we all agree if is helping the child. Our ultimate aim is helping the child. So I can't be stubborn. There should be. If I say no, I am correct, you are not. I have to, if you convince me with your logic that this is more appropriate for the child, obviously I need to agree. Then I can't keep my stubbornness with me. But we do have these problems all the time. But we also have the ability as a team member to sort those opinions. So very good question you have asked me. There are also points, or I would say there are various things which we have to keep in mind to have a good teamwork, to good for you know, the qualities which a team requires to be a successful.
So it's very important to keep the ego and prejudice aside when you're deciding and working for this purpose.
Exactly. I will just show you qualities that facilitate better teamwork. This is the problem everywhere. But unless we have these qualities, our teamwork will not be successful. So what are those qualities? Just look at the screen. Number one is flexibility. Very, very important. All of us need to be flexible. वो कहते हैं ना, पत्थर की लकीर नहीं है कि जो एक बार कह दिया वो मिटेगी नहीं. और हम दिन में आपने देखा होगा कितनी बार बदलते हैं अपने आप को, बिकॉज दूसरे से फीडबैक मिली तो अपने आपने डिसीजन बदल दिया. आज बच्चे को ये कराना था, टाइम टेबल में ये था, ये नहीं कराया. पर अगर मैं कहूँ नहीं टाइम टेबल में था, कराना ही है, पर उससे बच्चे को प्रॉब्लम हो रही है. बच्चा फिजिकली नॉट फिट दैट डे एंड यू हैव मेड हिम डू फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज एंड ही फेंटेड. अब समझ रहे हो मेरी बात? फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी. सोशल वर्कर ने आपके ये बताया आके कि चाइल्ड इज वॉमिटिंग सुबह से, आप उसको ये नहीं करा, आपने कहा नहीं टाइम टेबल में है, फिजिकल का पीरियड है, होगा ही, एंड द चाइल्ड फेंटेड.
So you cannot be rigid with the child.
You can never be rigid. So flexibility is very, very important that we all professionals should have, because it's a social field. Nothing is like 2 and 2 is 4. You understand?
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very careful. Sense of mutual respect. If you are saying something, I should consider it with respect. I may not take it because I have a reason. Then I should, with respect, I should tell you the reason why I'm not taking it, why I'm not following. So that is what is called mutual respect. Not that I know better than you. Then tolerance. You have to be tolerant towards your colleagues' behavior, towards the child's behavior, towards parents' behavior. We have to be tolerant. If I say, why are you shouting, why you are losing your temper, this, that, I mean, let us be tolerant. Nobody will behave like that unless there is a reason for that. So tolerance, willingness to share, very, 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 very important. Even now in our field, what we have seen, that people have tendency to hide things, you know. They will not, they feel it's a threat. If I tell the way I'm doing exercises, they will say, oh, it's not correct. But we feel, no, let us all sit together and see what is right, what is wrong. Let's not have that fear. And last of all, accept differences with our fellow professionals. That's part of it. We all are different, we think differently, but the best is coming to a consensus. That is the quality of a good team. Coming to a common consensus, that is. So I would like to say that at the end of it, interdisciplinary team is most important. Interdisciplinary team effort is essential to meet the needs of a special child.
So basically the crux was that avoid the bias, avoid the prejudice. Every person has to work as a team to coordinate, to be harmonious, and just to look after the child and take care of the child.
Yeah, it's not just all the professionals required, it is all the professionals are required to work in a team.
Okay.
That is most important.
So in today's topic of discussion, we discussed first about the services provided to the mental retardation patients. Then we discussed about various professionals like psychologists, like counselors, like vocational instructors, like doctors who have the early assessment of the child's disease or the disability. Then about parents, teachers, parents.
It's a condition. Mental retardation is not a disease.
Disability, a condition.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
And the parents who have the most important role, because they are the ones who are supposed to go to the doctors, to go to the counselors, to go to every social worker, wherever they can take the child. So it's very important the parents understand, they accept the child, they accept whatever disability the child has, and understand that it's not just a disability, the child is a special child more than that. So, and every social worker, every professional involved has to be working in a team, not individually. So basically it's an interdisciplinary team effort which is required. And ma'am, thank you so much. All your inputs were very beneficial for us. And thank you so much.
Namaskar.
That's all for today. Thank you.